And good day, good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you might be in the world. This is a bit of an impromptu stream that we decided to have. Hang on, let me just close that. Sorry, guys. That was funny. I hadn't got rid of one of our streams. I'm going to start us off with a bit of a tune. Now, this tune is World Cup Willie from 1966, the England 1966 team that won the World Cup. I was born the year before that, so obviously I don't remember it. But my father gave me a World Cup Willie badge when I was about 5 or something. And it was basically, it was a lion in the England football team strip. And so let's just go and play this tune before we start, shall we?
Oh, I love this song.
Yeah, if I can get it to play, it'll be great. I just didn't know what's going on. Excuse me. Oh, hang
on. Look, can we just skip this?
Well, yeah, I can't even do that. I can't even do that because unless I can do this, I can't do anything else I'm going to do on the damn stream. I might have to just go out of this, guys, and come back in. Hang on, wait a minute. What the fuck is going on here? What the fuck? It's definitely that that's causing the problem, but I can't work out.
ASMR of Duke clicking.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I just can't even get my screen to change at the moment, so I guess we'll see. Like my computer is totally frozen up, but I don't know why. Oh, here we go. Maybe I can do something about it now. Fuck's sake. Alright, well I can do
this song better be fucking worth it.
It's fantabulous, mate.
Bro, have you not been listening? It's been playing the whole time.
Okay, I've sorted it. I've sorted it. Here we go.
Are we meant to be hearing something?
What? I'm on stream.
Well,
no, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm hearing a song, but
it's fucking useless. Oh shit!
All right, this is now the.
Can you guys hear that?
No one can see anything, mate. I'm going to be real frank with you.
Yeah.
As enthralling as your ASMR is, I think people kind of want to get on with it.
All right, we're going to try this again. We'll get there. Fucking hell. All right, hang on. I don't understand what's going on here. It's not a professional scream tier bus. I don't get paid for this. What I actually do is do it because I think it's important. But there we go. That's just me. Right, what the fuck is happening with this crap?
Look, Duke, can you just skip this bullshit, mate? I mean, this is ridiculous.
All right.
Ridiculous.
If this doesn't work this time, I will absolutely just skip it. Okay. Whoa! It worked.
There's a football fella, you all know his name, and the papers tell us he's in the Hall of Fame. Wherever he goes, he'll be all the rage, 'cause he's the new sensation of the age. Dressed in red, white and blue, he's World Cup Willie, we all love him too. World Cup Willie, he's tough as a lion and never will give up. That's why Willie is favourite for the cup. Willie, he's everybody's favourite for the cup. Well, we're all football crazy, and it's plain to see that we're all so happy like one big family. Now we've found someone who makes the rafters ring. Welcome to a brand new soccer king, all dressed in red, white and blue. That's World Cup Willie, we all love him too. World Cup Willie, he's tough as a lion and never will give up. That's why Willie is favourite for the cup. Yes, Willie, he's everybody's favourite for the cup. All the fans are waiting, how they'll spur him on, and those 16 nations will soon know Willie's song. Wherever he goes, he'll be all the rage, 'cause he's the new sensation of the age. Dressed in red, white and blue, that's World Cup Willie, we all love him too. World Cup Willie, he's tough as a lion and never will give up. That's why Willie is favourite for the cup. Everybody! Willie, he's everybody's favourite for the cup. One more time! Willie, he's everybody's favourite for the cup.
Right.
Hello, Duke.
Okay, the reason I wanted to play that, guys, is because that was 11 Englishmen with an English manager winning the World Cup in 1966. And every single Englishman had every right to support that team. They didn't kneel to anybody. They were proud Englishmen, all of them. All of the players, all of the coach, and all the support staff too. This is not the case with the modern English football team. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, can you elaborate on that? I mean, you're asserting that they're not patriotic. I mean, what, because they're taking the knee?
Well, that's a different story, but I'll get onto that in a minute. But my major point that I'm making to start with is that the 1966 England World Cup winning football team was 11 Englishmen with an English manager and English guys who looked after the team. And you could be proud of those guys because they were absolutely an English football team. All of them, every single one of them. Not the case anymore. Or would anyone argue that would be anymore?
I mean,
go on, Ozzy.
It's not. This is not really the point I would like to argue. I was told this was a debate, so I did prepare an opening statement.
Which you can give.
Okay, right. Okay, well, let's go ahead then. Today, I will not be taking a sympathetic perspective for the football team. I don't even know their names, and I have no intention of learning them. My position today is that the football crowd, as patriots and countrymen who are vested in the outcomes of their home countries, and by respect Britain, ought to not be seen as fools, but as natural, normal people of voting stock that is suitable for any national conservative movement. Whether we like it or not, we live in a nation with universal suffrage. Everyone can vote, and everyone will vote, or at least to the extent at which it's representative. And in democracy, games must be played, as our politicians have correctly noted themselves. Mrs. Patel, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Starmer have all made tweets about the Cup, and in my domestic Scotland, Nicola Sturgis' Twitter account is half the time a political commentary account. A lot of the time even supporting Celtic, which I believe is her team of preference, and I leave no comment on that matter. Sport is no longer a matter of take it or leave it. It has been subsumed into the economy of the modern political machine, while other elements of media, drama, the supposed tragedy of PC Doctor Who, EastEnders and Top Gear and the rest can happen with little political importance. The same cannot be said with national sport, especially when it's seen by 20 million people in this country alone. These people are watching in national chauvinism and support for the land that gave them birth. The three lines of England harken back to 1,000 years, for example. And if we have any future movement at all to hope on, a populist movement, which is all it can be, within or outside the Conservative Party, that can close the border and start on a road to a solution that we need, it will require the use of that kernel of patriotism we see in sport. I know it was not ideological spurgery that won Enoch Powell 80% of Britain's support at the time. It was the love for his country, a connection with their concerns and their wants. Divorcing ourselves from this and sticking to admirable, though unpragmatic principles will almost certainly lead to the destruction of Britain as we know it. That's me. Any takers?
Rollo, welcome back, mate.
Hello.
Your take initially?
Oh, we're talking about football, aren't we?
No, we're not talking about football. We're talking about the England football team in the 2021 European Woke Championships. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I was thinking about this today, and it's this basically. Like, on this stream, like the people on this stream, it's fair to say are like quite far out of the Overton window in terms of like where things are. Even me, who you might consider a bit of like a Tory boy, like not right wing enough, whatever. I'm probably like in the top 10, possibly even 5% of like right wing people in this country, right? So I mean, like, can we have any effect on like whether or not the England team fucking kneels? I think the answer to that is probably no. I mean, how many people are watching this stream at the moment? Like 20, 30, maybe 40.
Is that what? But you're assuming that's what we want to do.
Well, your position is I'm not going to support the England team as long as they kneel. I believe that.
I haven't stated my position yet. You guys are doing that first. Your turn at the moment.
I wasn't actually sure where we were in this debate. I mean, last week you seemed to give that position. But if that's not your position, then I apologise. But
you'll see in a minute.
But basically, my view is like, if people like watch the football and enjoy.
Oh, yeah, I think you're out, mate.
Hello?
It's that cheapo laptop of his.
This is a Jippo stream, one and all.
Royal Oak, come in, Royal Oak. After Royal Oak, come in. Hang on, we'll give him a minute. Sojo, what do you think about this stuff while we're waiting for Royal Oak to sort himself out?
Well, I suppose there's two dimensions to this. One is the way that this community is looking at one another, which is, to my mind, seems to be the key thing. And then there is, like the actual practicalities of it. So when I say the way the community is looking at one another, what I mean is, you've got, people like Academic Agent and Borgoth taking up these particular views, punching right, as it were, I suppose. And then there's the actual realities of it, which is that, hang on a minute, actually, what does it even mean to support the England team? We're just like individuals consuming this via the TV.
Good point.
None of us have paid money to go to Wembley.
Nope.
None of us have booked hotels, flights. Probably none of us. Well, I'm not a football person.
I mean, even if we go, we end up paying if we're allowed to go, of course, under the restrictions at the moment.
Anyway, I mean, my point, to cut a long boring story short, but my view is that, at the end of the day, I just find it quite rich, really quite rich, that you've got these sort of anonymous people on the internet saying that, the fact that you're supporting the England team is, is not a good position to take. It's like, well, who are you? You have no, you have no impact on the real world whatsoever. Whether you support the England team or not, to me, seems to be completely trivial. This is just an echo chamber. This community is an echo chamber that thinks that it has a far greater reach out into the world than it really does. So my own view would be, what does it matter if, for my own personal view, I mean, like, on an intellectual level, I actually kind of agree with Morgoth. I agree with you when you say, this is a team that you shouldn't really support. But there's something primal in me that I can't help myself. I'm drawn to the romanticism of it. It's my team. I see my fellow gammons getting excited, and I want a piece of that action. It's almost not about the England team. It's the vibe and the environment and the atmosphere that it creates within the country that is actually more important and sort of transcends the actual game itself. I've not even watched any of the games. I've just been following it by looking at the news and my Twitter feed. And even I'm kind of wrapped up in it. I feel like an emotion to it, a connection to it. And I'm not even a football fan, I'm a cricket man. So I think there's just this trying to deconstruct these primal urges with rationalism and logic and then thinking that you've got a hot take. It's nonsense. These are primal emotions that run wildly out of control, out of all proportion and rationale. And that's just the way it is.
Is that your point?
Yeah, that's my view of it.
Okay. I don't know what's happening to Royal Oak. Hopefully you'll...
His PC went kaput. He's rebooting, I believe.
Oh, okay, no worries. Well, when he comes back, he can make his point. Look, my deal is this. Everything that Sojourner just said, I felt for, say, the British troops in Afghanistan or Iraq. Even though I totally disagree with the war, didn't think they should be there, and everything about it was wrong. But all that primal stuff he spoke about, I felt for those. I can watch videos on YouTube of a little British base under attack by the Afghans and feel exactly what Sojourner was just talking about. I don't feel it to anything like the same degree, or probably even any degree at all, to be honest, for millionaire soccer players football players. I beg your pardon, guys. Listen, you got to understand. I spent 35 years living in countries where it was called soccer, so sometimes I call it soccer. But football, I don't feel anything like that about British football players who are millionaires and most often multi-millionaires, and only some of them are even English at all. So I don't feel that at all. I don't get what you're talking about there, Soja.
Name a sport that is take something like cycling, overwhelmingly white. I mean, they may not be millionaires, but they're certainly wealthy. I mean, name a sport. Name a sport that's a mass sport that hasn't been infiltrated and basically augmented by big capital. So they're all pretty much millionaires.
Hang on. There is a bit of a difference between cycling and football. Like
why? Fundamentally, what is the difference?
The fundamental difference is there is an England football team. Right?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? The point is that it's a national
representation.
Not.
Okay, it's called an England football team, but it isn't. Not in any real shape or form.
It might not to you, but that's
to anyone with half a brain.
Well, okay, like you can put yourself in this elitist ivory tower and say, "Well, I'm of the right mindset, and everyone else is wrong." And sure, and like maybe that will do you good psychologically. I don't know. That's not my problem. But if you are actually attempting to try and level with, ordinary people, if you want to actually have a proper movement, I mean, put it frankly, football hooligans are a good pick. Okay, they really, really love the country. They're normally old enough that that they're not going to be.
Do you know any football hooligans, Ozzy?
I know one or two. But like I'm not.
Because my brother, my younger brother, would have been described as a football hooligan. He absolutely would have done many, many moons ago. Not now, obviously. He's a chap who's only a few years younger than me. But many, many years ago, he was a Millwall fan. The first football match I ever went to see was Millwall. My dad took me to see him. And my younger brother, I was probably about 7. My brother was probably 4. And my brother actually grew up to be an absolute Millwall fan who travelled all over the country supporting Millwall and occasionally, not always, but occasionally getting into punch-ups and all this kind of stuff, right? But I absolutely can tell you for a fact that this modern England football team in 2021, my younger brother doesn't have any sympathy for them whatsoever.
Well, sure. Okay. But you can't deny that there are pictures. There are people lining up to watch these games, and they are heavily enthralled with this idea that England is playing. Let's separate ourselves from the actual team for a moment. Let's think about the crowd, because I don't care about the team. Right. I don't think anyone really cares about the team. Everyone cares about the idea of England.
There's the problem, I think. There is where you and I are coming at this from totally different angles.
Well, I see this on a fundamentally. I am really, really cautious about. I mean, I watched Academic Agent's video, and I mean,
what about Tory boys?
Yeah, but there was a certain intellectual
excellent video.
Sure,
it was an awful video.
No,
well, you can call it whatever you want, but the fact is that it was full of intellectual snobbery. It was full of this idea, well, I'm really smart and my position is correct. And
no, I don't think it was. I don't think.
And the funny thing was, give me a second, mate. Mate, I'll let you speak, please.
No, carry on. I'll answer in a minute. Carry on.
Okay. So, for example, one of the things he brought up was that, all of this stuff is insubstantive. Working in the real world with real people is insubstantive. You're catering to the normies. What we should instead be talking about is things like the cathedral. The cathedral is a computer science concept. It's completely... Who are you going to bring that up with? You're going to bring it up with Terry at the pub? This is absolutely fucking absurd.
No, I think you're actually insulting average people that they can't work out what a cathedral is, for God's sake.
an emergent phenomenon system.
Most people are not going to understand that. Even I don't understand the bullshit that they just endless. The definition changes all the time.
Of the cathedral you're talking about now.
Yes, of the
All right,
cathedral.
all
Yeah.
right. This is a bit off topic, so I'm going to bring it back.
Anyway,
to
sorry.
what-
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
not to but just to sort of add on to what Ozzy was saying about that particular video. This idea that we need to do X, Y, and Z. Newsflash to everybody here who really has ideas above their station. We are anonymous people on the internet. Okay, let me repeat that again. We are anonymous people on the internet talking to a tiny fucking crowd of people. And like this idea that we need to do X, Y, and Z is it's fantasy world. It's complete fantasy.
So do you think that applies to the same degree to academic agent stream, for example?
Who is academic agent? He's some anonymous bloke.
Well, I know he's not very anonymous, to be quite honest. It's quite easy to find out who he is.
He
but
can't.
yeah.
He's a self-employed YouTuber and he can't even use his own fucking name. It's not
But
serious.
He could. He doesn't because of what.
But he doesn't.
University lecturer, yeah.
Well,
But, okay.
it really takes the cake, this, because he said, well, we should be putting forward actual arguments, making actual activism. What does he do? He monetizes fucking courses, and then he goes and charges £300 to go see him for an hour. Fuck off with this. Like, no. If you actually want to make actual progress as a political unit, you've got to get above intellectual snobbery. It's got to go. And this is just classic. This is crystal snobbery.
See, I really think you guys are coming at this from the wrong angle. I don't think he was saying that at all. I think what he was trying to point out is that, like, if you love England, for example, and Aussie, you're a Scotsman, obviously, but if you love England,
I have care for England. I have care.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do, mate. I like you. That's why you're on my Discord, and you're very often on my streams. You know, I don't have people on my streams I don't like, but if you have a love for England, you have to work out that what is going on with this bollocks in Euro 2021 is actually anti-English. And if England wins it, it will be used against the real English people. And that's the only thing it will be used for. And anyone who doesn't realize that is a fucking moron, because we have had 50 years of this shit now. And I haven't even made my main point yet, but that's one.
Okay. We're in a bit more constructive territory here. So what I would say is that there will probably be some bashing coming from the left on this. I mean, heck, we've already seen it. We've already seen the thing of like the England football team with that migration and all that. And sure, that's
and
a
who
problem.
gives a shit? And who gives a shit? I don't care.
Exactly.
I would much sooner
No,
the English team was English than we did well at soccer.
Please.
Can you just let him finish, please?
Sorry, carry on.
Okay. So, as you rightly brought up, a lot of people will not care because they're not supporting the players as much as they are supporting the idea. Because for many people, sport is an abstract form of competition. It is an abstract form of war. And it's basically seeing my side can do better than yours. And Britain could really, really do with that at the moment. And whether, sure, you're going to get some spats on Twitter who are going to post some funny little pictures trying to debunk stuff, quote. But, like, in terms of the actual soul of people who want to love the country, you know, who are turning up at the football games, to simply give up on them and say, well, they're going to be lost to the agenda, or I suppose you could call it the cathedral. I don't really like the term. One, it's defeatist, and two, it's completely unpragmatic. Right, I'm done.
Sergio, I don't want to interrupt anyone. Your turn.
Well, that doesn't really lead on from anything. What was the other point that I wanted to make? The other thing that struck me about the academic agent video was that he was saying, don't people understand the damage that this is going to do in the future?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, hello, but our goose has already been cooked, mate.
Oh God, here we go. Pete Hitchens takes. Okay.
Well, I'm afraid that, in terms of the things that you care about, Duke, like demographic change, I mean, that really is already baked into the cake. That's not, in my view, that's not really going to change from this point onwards.
Well, if I thought that was the case, I wouldn't even do this, to be honest with you, Sergio. But all right, fair enough. Your view is your view is your view.
Fair enough, but then
I don't have to agree with it.
Yeah. All right. Christ. But then so there's the mass immigration aspect, and then there's a sort of just the general liberal sort of decay of culture and a sort of degrading of standards. That's been an ongoing process for a very long time. So, I just find all of it to be sort of a bit risible, really, and to my mind, it just strikes me as being an internal fight. And it's this kind of pseudo big brain take that's very stale, sterile, actually doesn't have any heart or passion behind it, very intellectual, very abstract, versus what real people feel. So you can sit there and say, well, I don't support a team that's full of millionaires, but to many people, they do support it, and they support it for primal reasons. And if you were to ask them why they support the team and why they feel this way, they wouldn't be able to explain it to you.
I don't understand what that's got to do with anything, but okay.
Well, of course you don't. Of course you don't, because you look at it and say, well, this England team's only got 5 white men in it.
No, that actually isn't my major point. But I mean, okay, if you say it is.
Oh well, then what is your major point then?
All right. My major point is that
if it's not an English team, what is it then?
Okay, before each and every single game they play, they kneel in submission like cucks to Black Lives Matter. That is a Marxist black supremacy movement. That's my major point.
I agree.
How can any Englishman with the tiniest little bit of pride support that fucking load of shower of scum?
Because they're not supporting that. The fact that England's winning and there is sort of glory within our sights is the thing that motivates them. Because
so is that the same as you could love your wife even though you watch her getting screwed by 5 black blokes every week?
No, that's not
she's
it.
your wife.
No, that's
and then explain to me the difference, because I don't understand.
A more apt thing would be, because a nation is like kin. It's basically an aggregate biological term for kin. So the best thing you could think about in terms of distilling it is like, you're going to a match to support your brother, but your brother ends up shagging the cheerleader on the pitch. Still your brother. You think what he's doing is fucking disgusting.
But you wouldn't support him. But you wouldn't support him.
But wouldn't you? I mean, if he
had any pride.
I mean, I'm not so sure actually. No, I'm not so sure about that actually.
Okay, so let me ask you a hypothetical here, Ozzy. If the England team at the start of every match, instead of kneeling to Black Lives Matter, which is a sign of submission, if they didn't do that, if they went and licked a black man's shoes before every match, do you still think the English football fans would support them?
No, I don't think they would.
Honestly, at this point, I really don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Sojo, thank you, Sojo, thank you.
I just want to say that in many ways I completely agree with like your absolute disgust with the behaviour of the team, but I'm trying to just like, there is something about.
You're talking about the supporters. I get that, Sojo.
No. I'm not. Well, yes, I am talking about the supporters, but I'm talking about their relationship to the team and the entity, and because you have to think that the idea England is an abstract idea in the sense of a football team, that that the team is an embodiment of something bigger than just the players, and it's almost like. I mean, like I say, I mean, I haven't been watching the football.
Well,
If I may, can you please? You really must stop doing that, because it really does throw me, and I would imagine others, off of their train of thought.
Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Oh well, if only it was that easy. But so like I was saying, that I personally can't watch the games because of that. I have I just have a disinterest in it. I'm sort of put off by it, but I'm not repulsed to the point where I will then support the other team, such as other people have done with the Denmark game. But I find it hard to. I mean, I just think about my family who have been following it, and many of them have actually spoken out about the kneeling, and they think it's gay and cringe. But it's almost like a sort of it's almost like a self-sacrifice, right? In the sense that you have to look beyond that. You have to sort of grit your teeth and grin and bear it, and look beyond the politics. So, so in that sense, Morgoth is right that, the team itself has been captured by these leftist institutions. 100% agree, completely agree. Him, an academic agent on that point, completely correct. But I'm afraid to say that there is just something powerful and primal about supporting your own national team, even if it's in a cuck state that it's in, that is just extremely powerful. And if you actually don't feel that, I actually think there's something wrong with you. Because even though I'm disgusted by BLM, I don't like to see the English players taking the knee. I still,
Who does?
Despite all of that resentment and disgust, there is still a part of me deep inside that sort of lights up at the thought that we're going to win the Euro 2021, and I don't even really.
Who's
I'm not really
we?
a football person.
Who's we?
Well, again, but you just don't get it, Duke. I'm sorry. If you don't feel that,
I just don't get it. No, I don't.
Then it's.
If you want to call it something scientific, you could call it the spirit of England.
If
you want, but like,
so the England spirit is now totally cucked. Is that what you're saying? Because
no, no. That's the team.
Look, if you're going to support,
that's the no.
If you're going to support 11 blokes kneeling in submission, that is cucked.
They're not supporting that though.
Then why are they supporting the team?
They are supporting the team that represents England.
If they represent England and they kneel, what are they representing?
Duke,
Do you not see it? Honestly, I said I wasn't going to pull punches on this stream, right?
No. I just want to diffuse things, because you're getting really animated, and I get it. I completely understand it. But you're with friends here, so there's. I'm not saying that.
I know I'm with friends. I like both of you chaps. You're both on my Discord. I invite both of you onto my streams all the time. You and Ozzy are both friends, okay? I am not getting angry at you guys. I'm getting angry.
I know.
I cannot see what is actually happening here. If you are supporting this England team, you are supporting an England team that kneels and cucks. For God's sake, men! It's not fucking rocket science. What the England football supporters are doing, in my opinion, is they're ignoring that.
Yes, they are ignoring it.
Yes, thank you. That's what I think they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing they shouldn't do.
Well, I mean, you get some people who boo it, but most people will just let it slide because
I think a large number of people boo it, and the people who boo it are based.
But that irrespective, when people come, they don't come to watch players kneel. They don't. They come to watch England win. Those are two different sentences almost entirely. Now, and think about how much the importance of the second one means. My country won. Sure, there was some fucking shit political spurgery along the way, but we won.
Do you think France
That is
won
an
the World?
immense.
Do you think,
That is
hang
an
on, hang on.
immense
Aussie,
philosophical
Aussie,
power.
Aussie, do you think France won the last World Cup?
Can I, if you want me to answer that, can I get the full proper non-interrupted answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say a
Right.
word.
Right. Okay. So I would say that on the purely genotypical level, France did not win because you can look at the team. However, on the mind of the ordinary Frenchman, the average Frenchman who is excited and pleased to be at France that day, for them, in their mind, they won, and that is a very powerful force indeed. There we go. Done.
So, in other words, like the fact that the team
Depends who you ask. Depends.
Yeah. But in other words, what you're saying is that the team that, despite the French team not being French at all, doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're coming to the game to support the idea of France winning, because you're not there to support. I don't think any of these people come with political ideas in mind. They're here to watch a bit of. They're here to watch a bit of footy and have a bit of fun with their mates. And if England wins, if their country wins, if their soil wins,
but their soil doesn't win. That's my point. Or their
sure.
Their blood and soil doesn't win.
Sure, maybe not to you, but it's about how they feel. Because you cannot win political movements on rationale and deconstruction. Like
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Carry on.
I'm being told I'm a civ nut. I don't really think I am a civ nut, but I'm recognizing the fact that, a nationalism as a platform is anathema. It is complete anathema to most people.
No, I think you're going overboard on that one, mate. Honestly, I like you very much, Aussie, but on that particular one, you're wrong. And if you want to know why you're wrong, no, hang on. If you want to know why you're wrong, Aussie, just look at Scotland.
No. Do not compare Scottish nationalism. No, I'm going to fucking chew you out on me, okay?
I'm sorry.
What are you going to tell me here, Aussie? Are you going to tell me that English people are less nationalist than Scots?
I'm going to tell you that the Scottish nationalism isn't Scottish nationalism.
No. Look, we've talked about it.
It's Anglophobia.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and I agree with you. But I think nationalism for Scotland is a pretty big deal, isn't it? I'm not talking about not the SNP. I'm talking about real Scots.
No, well, okay. So the real Scots my people, as in the Scottish tribe who settled there 1,500 years ago, and made they are now approximately 55% of the population. It is Irish nationalism you are discussing.
Yeah, fair enough.
And most of these people, they don't actually care about Scotland. What they're really talking about is, they're saying, or the English took us out of the European Union, and I don't like that. And it's blaming England, and it's basically saying, we need to go back to the world. It's not nationalism.
I don't disagree with any of that.
So if you mean, so if you want to actually, if you want an actual movement which is going to stop, mass migration, huge changes in demographics, and all that, you need to start realizing that people aren't going to don't like to hear terms like nationalism or.
So you think we should start supporting sports teams kneeling to Black Lives Matter? Do you?
No, I don't think you have to do that, but I think you have to express sympathy for the people who are supporting them.
No, listen, I don't. I'm not slagging off the people who support them. I'm pointing out they're idiots.
Well, you are slagging them off. You just called them idiots.
Because they are.
So you are slagging them off.
No, I'm not. I'm saying they're idiots because they're not looking.
Right. So you're slagging them off.
No. They're not.
Either you call them idiots and you're slagging them off, or you're not calling them idiots and you're not slagging them off.
You have to call them idiots because what they're doing is wrong. But I do kind of get what you're talking about, all right? I do kind of get what you're talking about. But you're assuming these people are so fucking stupid that you can't actually say to them, look, guys, what you're supporting here is harming everything about England that you would really love.
Look, if you go up to someone and say, you're undermining the nation, you suck, they're going to go, right, well, fuck you then. That's basically
then them support a load of cucks pretending to be the England football team who kneel to Black Lives Matter. And then I don't care. And if I'm a minority and I lose, which, as Sojo has said, almost certainly we will, well, that's not a big deal to me because that means England's dead anyway.
You see, I don't think so. But I think you have to work with what we've got. And what we've got at the moment are
people increasingly going left and left and left and keep going left and keep going left and let's keep going left.
Yes, sure. And if we want to change that, you're going to have to work under the apparatus we're given. And one of the apparatuses we're given is that we have a permeated political culture that is really hard to undermine. If you're going to undermine it, you're going to have to be patient, you're going to have to be slow, you're going to have to be reasonable. If you don't want to do that, then if you want to scream, you're all cucks, well, then I really don't know why you stream.
Well, I'm not trying to convince I'm not trying to convince the vast majority of normies, mate. I'm really not.
Well, then how do we win?
I don't think we can win via the vast majority of the normies.
So there is no democratic solution.
Oh no, I don't. I doubt it, actually, to be honest. I doubt.
Well, then that's the crux. Then
I really doubt there is. I don't think there's a violent solution either. But
so you've embraced the eternal.
If we're depending on the modern normie British population, I think we're sunk, mate.
Well, we are. Now, I think we can work with that. I genuinely do, because I in many ways, my faith compels me to believe that we can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not under no delusions that you can get out of this by, I mean, as Soja says, spurging on anonymous things online and complaining about, principles. Like, our enemy does not have principles. You have got to get your feet in the mud to get anything worth going. And at this point in time, there are ordinary people are the people who are going to the football matches, and there is a kernel of hope in that because they are going out and supporting this abstract idea of England or Britain or whatever it wants to, whatever you want to call it. You don't think they're supporting Britain?
No,
or England?
No, I think they're supporting global homo Britain for sure. Yeah.
Well, okay, but they are supporting a thing called, on the surface,
it's
England.
no good. It's no good.
Yeah, no, but Duke, if you went up to one of these persons and said, "Who are you supporting?" they're not going to go, "Oh, I support Globo Homo." That's not their conception of it. Their conception of it, right or wrong, is that they're supporting England. And I think for them,
but the team is not even.
If I may, Duke, I think for them, I think for them that the kneeling thing obviously is a much bigger thing for us because it's sort of the white heat of the main political issues of the day. But I think for the average person, they see kneeling for 15, 20 seconds at the start of the match, and then it's 90 minutes of heroic glory. Whereas we don't see that. We just see, oh, there's this cucking kneeling, which, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But it represents something bigger for us because of our disposition and our political beliefs. But I think for most people, it's just something that they get through during the national anthem, and then that's it. I think, you know, we have a tendency to blow things up in our own minds because we're so focused on these particular topics.
So you don't think like our fathers and grandfathers would spin in their grave seeing these?
Oh, they would do. They would do, but they would have been participating in a society where, even on the left-hand side of the spectrum and the right-hand side of the spectrum, and in, you know, converging in the centre, that there would have been a consensus, an unspoken consensus, that what this would be gay, and it just would never have been done.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So they didn't have to worry about these things.
Gay and weak.
But we don't live in that society anymore. We don't live in that society. So, like, you know, like Ozzy says, we have to, you know, if you do believe that there is a solution and a way out of this, I personally don't really think there is. I think we have to have a new formulation of what it means to be English, British, Scottish, whatever. But if you do think that there is a way out of this, then you really are gonna have to work with what there is. And again, I draw parallels with supporting the England team, kind of like with the Churchill issue and the sort of bulldog nationalism. And again, I mean, in many ways, I kind of agree with the criticisms and critiques that people like Morgoth actually do make. But my view is that you can't go out there and just shit all over Churchill. You just can't do that. Just keep your mouth shut about the guy. But nobody wants to hear about, you know, what Churchill did in World War II or whatever. You just have to place him in his time as being a heroic figure, come what may, that influenced history, and you recognise him as such, and you kind of just don't make a big deal of it. And you know, you have to treat the England team with the same kind of mentality, in my view, because if you come out as like a sort of political figure and say, I'm not supporting this team because it's not English, basically you're sunk as a sort of mainstream figure, in my view.
Even if they kneel in submission to a Marxist black supremacy movement before every single game.
It's what we've got. It's what we have, mate.
I think you can actually you can support the team, but at the same time still critique the BLM kneeling. That is a position that is entirely feasible and possible to hold. I kind of hold it in the sense that, like I say, I've said on the stream once, I'll say it again, I'm not really a big football fan. I'm more of a cricket man. But at the same time, I'm not going to denigrate the England team and say they're a bunch of fucking wankers, cucks, whatever, and then say, oh, actually, I'm going to support Denmark, like somebody on the Academic Agent stream.
No, listen, I'm not suggesting you support another team. I'm just suggesting you shouldn't give a shit who wins. Because if the Globo Homo English in inverted commas, football team wins, that will just be used against us. It will be, oh boys, look at how diverse England won. And both of you guys are intelligent enough to damn well know that.
Well, I've already seen that on Twitter, where people have said this is what the England team would be without migration, and they also point out the paddies in the team, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, fair point. You know, I mean, you know, that's another pet peeve of mine, is that, you know, you can go on about this country being kebabbed, but, you know, really England was kebabbed by the Irish a long time ago. So, you know, but that, I mean, that's another.
I don't agree with you on that. So.
Well, you're half Irish, so you wouldn't do, would you?
I'm not half Irish. My mother was half Irish and half Welsh, so I'm not half Irish. But yeah.
Oh, you're a quarter of Irish, right?
Thank you.
The problem is that no matter what the outcome would be, it would be used against us. I mean, there was that tweet from someone the other day who had the hashtag FBPE or however it said, saying now all hopes on Denmark. You know, you've got Simon Cosgrave, that's his name. I don't know if he's of any significance, but you know, you get these people all the time. And you know, if England lost, it would be because you're the little Englanders failed, blah blah blah. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So if you're gonna win, if you're gonna play the game, you might as well fucking win, as far as I'm concerned. So do you know what I would think would be all right,
Ozzy and Sergio? What I would probably suspect would be okay and acceptable is if every single English fan spent the whole of the time that England were kneeling, booing the fuck out of them.
No.
That's
because
not
you
gonna
want
happen.
then, if that happened, then I would say, okay, the English fans are fairly based. But they don't do that.
Yeah, but 30% of the population voted for Labour. So, you know, based on averages, 3 out of 10 English fans are going to be wankers anyway.
Yeah, actually, I doubt if that's very true, given that, like, the vast majority of Labour voters these days, not like 25 years ago, but these days, are inner city cuck boys, you know, soy boys.
It doesn't matter. They're the kind of people that would go.
I don't think they follow.
No. I think that, especially when it comes to tournament times, that they're that kind of like leafy middle class suburban type. They'll take their kids out to go watch the football. I know people who are complete shitlibs who are following the football rabidly.
Yeah, I bet they are now, because at the moment,
And they're Labour voters from North London.
And if this team wins, if it wins, and like I said, I'm not hoping England don't win. I just don't give a shit if they win or they don't. Really, don't give two fucks. But
You're in a minority.
I don't care. I always am in a minority.
You say you don't care, but then you're getting very animated about it.
I'm allowed to get animated, am I not?
Yeah, well, no,
You're telling me I'm not.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that you're absolutely well within your purview to become animated, but don't say that you don't care about it when you evidently do.
Well, no, I said I don't care who wins. I really don't. Like, if England wins or loses, I don't give a shit, mate.
Well, then why do you care if they're kneeling or not?
Oh, for God's sake. Because they are representing England. For God's sake. Is that not really obvious?
Well, no, it doesn't. There just seems to be a sort of like an illogical clash. I don't really care if England win or lose. Couldn't give a shit. But they're representing England, and I do care about it.
No, hang on. This England team, I don't give a shit about because they kneel. Right? I was very happy for earlier England teams to win. Yes, of course I was. I used to be a fanatical supporter of the England cricket team and the England rugby union team, and also the British and Irish Lions. I was a fanatical supporter back in the day when I cared about sport. And back in the day, yes, I absolutely would have cared about England winning. This particular England team that kneels like cowardly cucks to a Marxist black supremacist movement before every single game, I don't care if they win or lose. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, the other question that I have is that, you know, to what extent do these footballers, to what extent does Harry Kane or Kevin Maguire, whatever his fucking name is, I'm sorry, I don't know the names of these players, but to what extent do these guys even know what they're kneeling for? Do you think that they've sat on some sort of white privilege seminars with Gareth Southgate and they've gone over?
Very likely.
They've gone over their privilege during a training session.
Apparently,
I mean, I just find it.
Apparently, Gavin Southgate is deep woke, which is like extreme left-wing SJW feminist.
I don't know.
He is, but like to that end, though. And like, if the entire team is cucked, it's all they're all gay. We shouldn't give them the time of day. Okay, I don't care, and neither does the people. It's like people who still watch, I don't know, a Doctor Who or something like that. Like I don't really have taste for it. It's not my interest. But like, and they complain about it being cucked, but they still watch it. You know, and
I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who still watches Doctor Who, but I mean, you know.
I mean, well, okay, but the idea is that people in general who are proud of their nation are useful from a political perspective. Like that's the idea. And like, if you want to be defeatist, mate, if you want to be defeatist and say, well, it's over, I don't think there's a political solution, then fine. Then you have every right to give up on everything.
I'm not giving up on anything. I'm the one who's not. You guys.
You don't think you said there's no political solution.
I'm
You said
not
there's
sure
no-
there. I'm not sure there is, mate.
Yes. Okay. So while I hold out belief that there is a political solution, and I will continue to hold that out, we have 4 or 5 election cycles to make an effective breakthrough, and I think we can do it. I mean, it will be by the skin of our nails, but we
By
can do
whom?
it.
An election breakthrough by whom?
That there are 2 strategies,
Go
but
on.
we'll get. There are 2 strategies. The first thing is you can either create a new populist party, and you use what you would describe as the Fed Ralph's strategy. You basically scrape algorithms. You find what these people care about, and you pitch it to them in a really nice, tight little box over the internet, and then you start campaigning, and you start levying what their concerns, and you do that in a few targeted seats, and you can theoretically be able to decide a parliament on that basis. The other solution is infiltrate the Tories. I'm less confident about that one. Other people are more confident about it.
I agree.
But either way, and you can say that either one of those chances is 0.01. Fine. I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, me too. That's the only reason I do
Great.
this shit.
I
don't think we have much. I don't think we have much of a chance. Like Sojin and turning around and saying to me, "Oh, fuck me, guys. Hardly anyone watches this. We're a little small minority." You don't think I know that?
Well, yes. Well, exactly. We're a small minority, but you know who there's lots and lots and lots of? Football supporters.
And if they are football supporters who boo the fuck out of England every time they kneel, I would have some room for them. But they don't all do that.
No. You've got to have rooms for all of them, mate, because it's democracy.
The ones that no. I don't give a fuck about democracy. Democracy is a very bad system.
Well, fine, but we need to get into power, mate.
I agree with that. But
great. So you've got to play democratic game.
No. If the England football supporters all absolutely booed the shit out of the England team every time they kneeled, I'd have far more room for them.
Okay,
that's actually all I ask of them.
Well,
if they do that, then I would have far more room for them. But many of them do not.
And as far as I'm concerned, you're basically saying I won't have the meal unless it's caviar.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I am expecting Englishmen to behave like normal, historical, average Englishmen. That's all I'm asking. Nothing else.
Okay, well, that ship has sailed, mate. That was 20 years ago.
Don't agree with you. Don't agree with you at all.
So you believe you believe that there is. Where are these mythical people then who aren't going out to the football? Who will vote for a party like that?
Because I think there are a lot of normies, in inverted commas. I don't really like the word normies, but there are a lot of normies who don't even realize what they're doing. And that's why we should tell them what we're doing and what they're doing is wrong. Because some of them will realize.
Okay, so some of them will realize. Great. Those people who realize are the people who are going to watch that game. Are we agreed?
Some of them.
Right, okay. So we need to work with people who are just, they're just there to support this idea of England in a football match. You've got to remove your own personal reservations about that, because that's what we have to work with. If you believe there is a political solution, there it is.
No, I don't.
So can we get off our high horses for a minute?
No, because look, average Englishmen, really average basic Englishman should realize that kneeling in submission to something is a bad thing. This is not rocket science, guys.
Sure, but that's what they do think.
Precisely, Ozzy. it's my. This is only anecdotal, but my impression is that most people actually are, particularly football fans, are going to skew towards thinking this is gay. But it's like they just grin and bear it and put up with it because this is the tyranny that we live under. It's a bit like the Soviet
Union. Stop it? Why don't they stop it then?
It's a bit like the Soviet Union in the sense that everybody sort of makes out that they're big sort of fans of the party because they have to, and that's my view of the football situation. Oh yeah, it's just everybody says that they're for anti-racism and diversity because it's gets people off your back, but it's the question of revealed preferences that really show what people actually prefer.
So, Sergio, what would happen if the whole of the English part of the stadium in the final booed the English team for kneeling? What would happen to those people booing?
They would probably be castigated by the FA, like what happened when this all kicked off.
Yeah, okay. They'd get slagged off in the press and then on the media, great. But nothing actually physically would happen to them, obviously, because it's the start of the fucking game, isn't it?
And nothing would happen to them. No.
So every single one of those English fans at the final, when England take the knee and bow down and submit to a Marxist black supremacy movement, every single one of them should boo their hearts out. Is that not correct?
Yeah. Maybe they just can't be arsed, Duke. I tell you, let's invert it. Duke, let's invert this. I don't hear anybody cheering.
I don't want them to cheer.
No.
I don't care about them.
I know you, Duke. I know you don't want them to cheer. I'm trying to make a point. If you invert the idea, you're complaining that they're not booing, but I'm also not hearing them cheering them kneeling either.
Wow. And that's how we drift left.
Well, yeah, you could make that point. You certainly could make that point. But I would say that, why I don't want football to be politicized. I don't want normal people to have to be politicized anyway.
All sport has been politicized for years now. You know this, Sojo. You're not really. I mean, I don't really follow sport, so I wouldn't actually be able to comment on that. But all of it has been.
I don't really recall any in cricket, really. Cricket's been all right. It's been.
There's been a pretty fundamental change in the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, now New Zealand's going to be sending
10 years. Hang on, Royal coming on. Royal Oak's coming on, guys, and I want to give Royal Oak his chance to speak. Royal Oak, your chance. That's all right, man. No worries. Go ahead.
So I assume we're still touching on the same subject. I think I've only just noticed that Academic Agents made a video. Is that what this is largely about?
It got me very spurred up. To put at the very least, it was not a very. It wasn't very good. I don't think.
There's like 10 reasons. What is it like? Fucking watch Mojo out here. Or top 10 reasons to hate Tories. Who's it even talking about? I don't know. Like Harry Angladeve or something. Is it who are these mystical Tory boys that they're talking about?
I don't know actually.
I think he's probably talking about you, mate.
Talking about me? Me?
Yeah.
Me? I only got 1,000 subs, mate. I'm not talking about me. Shit. Love you.
Anyway, you might want to give over your piece because.
Well, basically, I mean, like. Number one, I think to an extent, like you can make comments about jingoism. People have in the past. I've not watched the video, so to an extent I'm straw manning. But like, I think jingoism to an extent does have sort of like a collectivizing value, doesn't it? I'm not sure if jingoism is necessarily the right word, but sort of like displays of patriotism, those kind of things have a sort of collectivizing sort of influence, you could say. I think you know, and those things are positive. You can see sort of a lot of the nation coming together during this match. You know, people feeling, you know, to an extent proud to be English again. Like people are saying, you know, I was hearing at work today, like even like people who, you know, don't really like aren't nationalistic or anything. They're saying, oh, it's really, really good for the country, really good for the nation. And even apart from that, like, you know, like if we're not gonna like win fucking power or some shit, right? I think Duke's done this before. That, like, to his credit, like he knows that I think that quite a lot of people who watch this channel are a little bit younger. You know, just like trying to give them advice to like improve their lives and stuff like that, you know. And I think the advice that, you know, like there's this football match on, like a lot of people are having a lot of fun, you know, it's an interesting match, you know, it's a thing to celebrate, you know, just enjoy the football. I think that's probably a good piece of life advice, you know, it would help you with your life, wouldn't it? I think
I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine how many friends you would have if you're like, "Oh, I'm not supporting football. They're not based."
Well, even apart from like the kneeling, you know, we want like you know, if we want to produce tens or whatever, you know.
You don't need soccer players to produce tens.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, you know, people who can find enjoyment in a, you know, spectacle, like, you know, I think football it is the beautiful game at the end of the day.
All right, let me ask you guys something here. Do you think there is any chance whatsoever, like any chance whatsoever, of the England team kneeling to support all those white English schoolgirls who have been victims of Islamic rape gangs in England? Do you think there's any chance of that at all?
If it received enough traction, and if it was
no, I'm being real here, Aussie.
Okay, what are you talking about within the
now?
final?
I'm talking about now.
Okay, now, no, it's not happening.
They do take a minute's silence on around November the 11th. To be fair,
what's that for?
That's for people that died in World War I and World War II, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I've heard that being called racist though, actually, recently.
Well, they still do it, and they still have, I think, poppies on shirts. Obviously, there was a thing about England having poppies on the shirts a while ago.
Yeah, I remember there was a big bullshit about that, wasn't there?
Sorry, there was a big what?
There was a big bullshit about that recently, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I think they were allowed to do it in the end. But yeah,
they were allowed to in England.
They weren't in. They weren't okay. But most football clubs in the British Isles display the poppy. I think even Celtic do. I think, and they're like a very anti-British club, aren't they? So,
yeah, they were originally a Irish immigrant club to Glasgow for sure. But yeah, fair enough. Although quite a lot of Celtic supporters have served in the British Army, to be fair. My old man knew quite a lot of them, but anyway. But yeah.
Oh, your old man was a Celtic fan, was he?
No, my old man just had, like, most of my old man's ex-military mates were Glaswegians and Geordies because they were the guys he liked, even though my old man was a Londoner. So it's good though, because I can understand Glaswegian and Geordie, which many people in the south of England can't. But you know.
Okay, so I think what Oak just said there about the poppies is actually a really I personally completely forgot about that. Not that I would really be aware of it. But what do you make? So how do you square that up, Duke? On the one hand, they'll show the poppy.
Who won?
And they'll kneel.
Who won?
Well, I think Oak is.
I'm sorry,
saying,
I missed some of that conversation, guys.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying. I was saying, how do you square? You know, on the one hand, you've got these Premier League clubs. You know, they wear the poppy on the.
What's that got to do with the England team? I've never said a word about Premier League clubs because I don't care about any of them. Well,
because they're essentially. The England team is governed and run by the FA, and the FA runs the Premier League.
I understand that.
So they are essentially they're linked, and I would imagine that if there ever was to be an international game played over Remembrance Day, I would imagine that the England team would wear a poppy as well. Has it ever happened? Anybody know if that's happened?
I know they've had a lot. The England team have been given a lot of shit about wearing poppies.
But do they still wear? Do they wear a poppy?
I mean, I don't know now, but I do remember Six Nations a few years ago when I was back in school. They did do that.
Yeah, they used to.
I mean, I don't watch football, really. I mean, I'm watching the last few games because it's fun and it's adrenaline pumping, but I'm not big into football, and of course, I'm not massively into England. I was in absolute stitches when Scotland blasted through you guys during the Six Nations, but for me, like, I just don't see this. I cannot see this on a too analytical level, because what I see when I see that stadium is I see people who are happy to see England and are happy to see it
But
perform.
they're not the real England. That's the point, Ozzy. They're
So
not a real England team at all.
okay, but
what they are supporting is a chimera.
Okay, so you don't agree with their actions, fine, but you need these people, Duke. If you think there's a solution,
I don't.
any
No,
way,
I
shape,
do
or
not.
form.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
So how? Okay, sketch for me.
I need the most intelligent of them. I don't need most of them.
Sketch out for me your solution.
I think all this shit's going to break down. I don't have a solution, by the way. I mean, what do you think I am? But I think all this shit's going to break down sooner or later. And then I don't know what's going to happen. What I fear is going to happen is the worst. I fear we're going to end up in a situation when there's going to be a huge amount of bloodshed. That's what I'd like to avoid. I don't know if we can, to be in all honesty.
Okay, but would you if you thought there was a solution, or at least there was a chance of a solution to avoid that, would you take it?
If it left England at the end of it, yeah. If it didn't,
so
no.
you. So
if it left real, hang on, let me rephrase that. If it left real England and real Britain at the end of it, then absolutely yes, I would. But if it instead of that left some sort of fake thing, then no, I would not.
Okay, so you have in mind a possible solution, a future in which you can get the Britain of Old Blighty. And that solution...
I'm not sure that's what I want, even. I mean, yeah, okay, that'd be great, but I don't think we'll get that.
But you're going to try and work towards that. To work towards that, you need power. How do you get power?
You're going on democratic system here, aren't you?
Yeah. You need these people.
I just don't think we can win that one.
What are you trying to say?
So it's a small chance. It's a small chance, but it's worth it. For me, that's worth it.
But it's not, you see, what you are arguing here is from the general to the particular. You're saying if we support a load of millionaire cucks who kneel to a Marxist, black supremacist... No, let me finish. What you seem to be saying to me is you're saying if we support a load of millionaire cowardly cucks who kneel to a Marxist black supremacy movement before every single match and let the England fans support those guys as if that is England somehow or other, we might be able to somehow or other get those England fans to vote for some sort of real England when they're already supporting in England, which is totally fake.
Let me paint a picture for you. Okay. So you've got a populist candidate. Let's say this is like Nigel Farage, or like back when he was relevant, or it could be this new guy, and he looks like he's going to come third in the next election.
Mm-hmm.
He might seriously take away from the Tories. He might do some damage
in one seat. You mean, don't you? Because
no. Well, if they have such a broad enough voting appeal in certain districts that they could take away a sizable portion of Tory seats, such that the Tories have to bend. So let's imagine this guy, and how popular do you think he's going to be if during the England final he says, I'm not supporting the English team?
When did I say I'm not supporting the English team?
No. It's not about you. It's about understanding and trying to, if you're moving towards a solution, you need to work under the assumption that people are not going to want to vote for a guy who says, I won't support England. That's a fact, mate.
Oh, all right. Let me try and move this back to where we started, which I think we've gone a long way from, and which you guys do all the time, because like basically what we're saying, the England team kneeling for a Marxist black supremacist movement like Black Lives Matter is indefensible. But you keep trying to change that to don't support the England team.
But I don't defend it at all, and I've never ever defended it.
Well,
So
why
we've
would
already
you?
established that.
But to be
That
fair,
was
Ozzy, you're a Scotsman, so why should you care? But
that was the first part of my opening statement. I said I don't know any of these players' names. I don't care why they kneel. It's not important to me.
Right.
It's completely irrelevant. It's not important to me. What's important to me is the people who are supporting it, because whether I see them on a spiritual level as the kith of my kin, or whether I see them on a purely political analyst level as potential voters, they matter.
I don't know how. Like, if you're going to support an England soccer team, an England football team that kneels for a Marxist black supremacist movement, kneels in submission to a Marxist black supremacist movement like Black Lives Matter before every single game that you play, if you're going to support that team, I think you're lost to the good of the world, frankly.
Okay, so you're black-pilled.
On that, yeah, absolutely. If you support that shit, I think you're gone, mate. Like, let's put it this way: if people who supported that shit were in my section in the British Army and we're having a hard fight, I think I'd die. Because those guys would not fight; they'd surrender.
Okay, because at this point, then basically we can't have an argument. Or a discussion, because essentially what we now have is two different goals. You are arguing your goal is principle and my goal is victory.
No, but you don't explain to me how you're going to convince these cucks to somehow or other support England or Britain. I just don't see where you're getting that.
So we've already established that these people are moved enough to care about the abstract notion of a country. Okay, let's put all the rest of the political bullshit aside.
Wait a minute.
Put it aside. Put it aside for a second. You asked me to explain it. How can I get to explain it?
You can, but let me just say one thing to you. All right, the abstract notion of a nation, which you're talking about, is the globo homo abstract notion of a nation. That's all I wanted to say. Carry on.
Well, okay.
20 minutes.
Well, okay. But any sense of wanting to have a country with discrete borders that you can identify necessarily involves the concept of a nation. So if people are buying into this, then we have someone who's instantly bought into this concept. So if we are going to work on that basis, and if we can appeal to them on ordinary lines without spurging off about Evola or, I don't know, movies that are cut, or saying Globo Homo or The Cathedral, then maybe they might think, hey, actually, I'm kind of not a big fan of this BLM stuff, and maybe hopefully we can start changing that at some point. I mean, maybe it's a shot in the dark, and it probably is. But it's fucking more than just saying, well, it's all cut, you're not English, and I quit.
I think another thing as well, I'm very worried that, like, people are saying what they're against, but they're not saying what they're in favor of. They're not displaying like an alternative vision for, what the narrative of our world is. We're just saying, oh, we're against kneeling. what's like an alternative like?
How about standing up proudly?
Well,
for
okay,
English
well, all right,
nationalism?
yeah, okay. That's not, because obviously you say it's more than kneeling. There's a narrative underneath that kneeling, right? So you need to express an alternative narrative. It has to be a culture change, doesn't it? I suppose, but I don't know. To be honest, I see kneeling as it's like rather. I think it's rather a meaningless sort of gesture that won't last. To be honest, that's how I see it. But
I think it's just another nail in our coffin. That's what I see it as.
well, yeah, but I mean,
The fact that we put up with it, and all these guys
we don't
defend
get
it,
booed. Well, no,
and
they got booed.
you guys defend it.
I'm not
Even
defending
though
it.
no,
We're not
all
defending
three of-
it.
Now, all three of you guys, although you have said no, we don't agree with it. To some degree, you're defending it.
No, we're not.
No, that's absurd.
Well, then why aren't you all turning around and saying this is nonsense? It shouldn't happen. That's my only point.
Well, we are saying that. We are saying it's nonsense and it shouldn't happen.
For fuck's sake. Okay.
But we're also saying that you can hold two positions simultaneously. One, that you don't agree with kneeling, but two, you support the England team. It's really rather quite simple.
Okay.
I don't understand what you find so hard about it to comprehend. Personally.
All right. So to me, you see, this is like in World War II, when like some portions of the Anglo-Indian army defected to the Japanese and became, according to the Japanese, the Indian National Army, and according to the British and the rest of the Indian soldiers who were still loyal, the Indian Traitor Army. See, I think that's what we're talking about here. And I'm not talking about the politics of that. I'm talking about sort of troops on the ground.
Well, I'm afraid I'm very ignorant of that piece of British history, so I will have to.
No, that's cool. No worries, man.
Most people are ignorant. On that.
Most people are ignorant of most British history. That's just a sad fact. And any thing about our school system, which I'm sure is deliberate, but there we go. But this is the point I'm trying to make. I've tried to say this before. If all of the England fans, almost without exception, booed the fuck out of the England team when they kneeled, I'd have no problem with them. None at all.
Okay. So I'll go back to a point I made earlier. So would you concede that there is an element of the England crowd that does boo?
Yes.
Okay, so we agree. Presumably Ozzy and Oak will agree that there is a contingent of the England crowd that does boo the players taking the knee.
The most sane ones, yeah.
Is there a contingent of the crowd that cheers when they take the knee?
I believe so, yes.
I've never seen
There's some that clap, I think.
Oh, for
There's some that clap.
How cringe.
That's a real shame. I was hoping to make a sort of point there where I was going to highlight an apathy, but if people are actually clapping, I haven't got a leg to stand on, actually.
Well, there was some. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say a majority were clapping. But...
Oh, for fuck's sake, I hope not.
No, I hope it did, yeah.
And honestly, my opinion is this. Look, for anyone who thinks I don't want England to win, like I don't give a fuck whether this, in inverted commas, English team wins or not. But if you think I'm anti-English fans, the only thing I ask English fans to do is to every single one of them boo as loudly as possible and constantly while they're kneeling. That's all I ask. If they do that, then I'll turn around and say, yeah, English soccer fans are all right. I don't really think they should be supporting the England football team, but if they are, fine. At least they boo when they show submission to a Marxist black supremacy movement. Or otherwise, what are we going to do? Are we going to wait until like 5 black guys are fucking your wife?
That's absurd.
I mean, I'm not joking. I'm being
That's
serious,
absurd.
guys.
It's fucking
It's
absurd.
not. No, it's not. It's not
Wait,
absurd.
what?
And it's
What did
not
I just
absurd.
hear?
It's not absurd if you look at some of the people who support Black Lives Matter. It's not absurd in the least.
Oh, I know. They're a complete.
Yes.
I'm familiar with the world famous BlackBerry eating
No, don't
competition.
say it. Don't. I'm not. We're not promoting that on this stream. Okay.
We're not promoting.
We're not
anything.
promoting it. I actually think that
I'm not even going to let you say it.
that sort of idea should be mocked and belittled as
Yep.
much as possible.
Absolutely right.
Which is why I call it the well-known BlackBerry eating competition. But
Oh God.
that aside, that is not. You're kind of engaging in a bit of a fallacy of the slippery slope there.
Oh no, I'm not. You know I'm not, Ozzy.
Well, you're basically saying
these people are the same. They're the same people who started off with, "Oh well, we should make like homosexuality illegal," and then they went, "Well, then then they went, we should make homosexual marriage legal," and then they went, we really ought to allow kids to transition. And then they went, but if a 5-year-old wants to transition and their parents shouldn't be able to stop them. And the next thing they're going to do is adults should be able to have sex with kids. And we all know this, but none of us have the gumption or guts to turn around and say it.
I mean, I get what you're saying from that perspective.
But you know it's true.
I do. Yeah, I'm familiar with the Long March of the Institutions. I'm familiar. What I would say is that, God forbid it ever gets to that point.
Well, how far off it? How far off it are we, Ozzy?
Well, I don't know.
Half a degree, maybe?
I don't know, but I'm complaining about it is clearly proving to not stop it. Put it that way.
We're about half a degree off that, mate.
Sure. Okay. Again, we've established that. Okay, fine.
And then everyone will say, "Oh no, there's a hard limit for conservatives and everyone on the right."
We're familiar. This has been discussed ad nauseum. Okay, that's not the point of this conversation. Okay, so we're half a minute away from that. What is complaining going to stop it?
Well, I don't know if we don't talk about it, how the fuck we are going to stop it. And I just think the England
has
football
complaining
team,
stopped it
and
hitherto?
no, listen, I see what you're saying. But I'm also saying every time we give into shit, like the England football team kneeling to a Marxist black supremacist movement, we're just giving in a little bit more.
We're not giving into it though. I mean, like, booing is like actively saying you're opposed to it. I mean,
I've just spent the last 10 minutes saying if every single England fan booed, I would have much more time for them.
Okay. Well, yeah, fair enough. I think it won't last, but that's my view. I thought we already said that. So
yeah, no one will care about this in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, when there's like 2 English white guys in the English football team, it'll all be forgotten. I'm sure you're right there. To be honest with you, Riley.
Well, all I would say is that complaining doesn't seem to stop it.
So we shouldn't complain then?
Well, we should probably try something else.
Like what?
Well, I also make the point that if you actually don't believe in democracy as being a tool for change, then as an individual, as part of the mass man, like what is the point of complaining? Because by your own admission, it actually has no impact on the affairs of state anyway.
I just want to change more people's minds, man.
But
and
why?
also,
I mean,
2 reasons. One is that obviously the more people with us, the better. And the second reason is that I don't want particularly young guys in the UK to think they're the only guys who think this way, because it's not true.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, it comes back to the point that I've really always made, which is that, red pilling the normies or the public, or however you want to phrase it, in my mind is largely a fruitless and pointless task.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah.
It's very difficult, but if you want to change anybody's minds, the only people that you should care about are the future potential elite, really, because they're the ones who are.
Well,
they have the.
Well, I think they're lost.
Well, no, that's not true. There's always going to be every year that goes by, there is a new generation of elites that will eventually filter their way into the key positions of power. So there, in that respect, there's always hope to be the person that can mold their minds and shape the culture going forward. But that really means creating content that is much more highbrow. So not streams that the average person listens to, but books or cultural commentaries or whatever, documentaries, whatever it may be that inspires the next generation of elites. That would be my attack vector going forward. Not focusing on normal people. Not that I have anything against normal people. I
shall look forward to your content in that vein. But yeah.
What would you say would be a populist example of like a, I don't know, right-wing YouTube channel? Can you even list one? Or
who you are?
Wouldn't it?
Steven Crowder.
I can't think of Stephen. I mean, they're mainstream conservative. I mean, I'm not saying that I endorse them. I'm just citing an example. I can't really.
Okay.
I really can't think of any mainstream conservative figure that is what I would consider to be a conservative. Really, I can't think of any.
Scruton before he died. There's a few in the States.
Scruton was great, but even he had his liberal side.
So as you can see,
he largely agreed with a lot of classical liberalism. But yeah.
But as you can see, the culture is just completely lopsided. Our views don't even have a sort of club in Parliament. You get like the 1922 committee or whatever. Like these clubs. There's not even a sort of in the 80s and the 90s, there would have been like Western Goals. There would have been the Monday Club. We don't have anything like that anymore. It's really ground zero for us, like completely ground zero.
I'm not sure if I think probably the fringes of stuff like the Cornerstone group might be. I think people like Peter Bone, Rossendale, even Nadine Dorries to an extent. But
how many do you think they number though?
Maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 out of the how many.
So we're really struggling. We are really struggling.
Those are like properly like, I mean, like not like getting close to. I mean, like if you wanted to go like vaguely conservative, you could probably say 60, 70. There's probably a load of libertarians and a load of liberals other than that. But
I mean that.
Anyway,
sorry, I was going to say that's the problem. Like libertarians don't do us any favors whatsoever. So,
Agreed.
That is.
No, I agree. Yeah.
In that kind of genuine conservative, or slightly reactionary tradition, I just, like I say, I can't really think of anyone. Even someone who's like allegedly a hardcore Catholic, like Rees-Mogg, is really anything but.
Yeah, I mean.
So what I would bring up is that normally people in these circles who are of this orientation are much more discreet than you would imagine, because they have to be discreet. The most obvious thing that comes to my mind is Marine Le Pen. She, I mean, she might win, she might not, but she might win, she might not, but she's campaigning on a platform which is obviously from which is obviously to our left. But it's as reasonable as she's going to get first time round. And who knows, maybe if she wins the first time, she can maybe slightly shift it next time and next time and next time and next time. Who knows?
And the French are a bit more left-wing than we are anyway, to be honest.
Well, what do we mean left-wing, though? Economically?
Left-wing on
which
of
axis?
Financial stuff and what have you. The French
they've embraced the liberal idea of anyone can become. There's a very common French thing since the French Revolution that anyone can become a Frenchman. People think.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's really that, Aussie. I think it's more like if you're going to look at it financially in terms of government controlling businesses and stuff like that, the French are more socialist in that sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But at this point, who cares? Who cares about it? I mean, I'm right wing economically, but at this point, I really couldn't care if I lived in a sort of a high taxation state like Sweden or Norway or whatever. At this point, I just don't care. The cultural issues are far more important than the economic.
Agree.
But yeah. But like, you have to remember, like back in the 1850s and 60s, when the French were founding their colonial empire, they were talking about things like, which will make Kalergi blush, and like 70 years earlier. Like, let's not get ourselves twisted over this idea that like it's all completely hopeless. This entire phenomenon is mimetic. You've got to do things slowly, and it's got to do it discreetly, but you have to play with the things you've got. And what we've got at the moment is a lot of people who may or may not be happy with the English team kneeling, but they're coming all the same to watch England play, and that is a good place to start. And it's better than anything else I've heard.
No, not this globalist, globo homo, anti-white.
It's the best thing we have to work with.
No, I'm sorry, man. I just can't agree with you on that one.
We've got to
you have something better to work with.
I think a better plan is for us to slice off the better bit of the normies and work with those guys. That's my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I might be wrong.
It's difficult. I think a lot of people feel quite disconnected from like like the nation or something like that. I think there is demand for like a more connected sort of view. I think people have a sense of loss, but they're not really sure what they have lost.
Yeah.
I think
they have no education about their past.
Well, yeah, exactly. Partly. I lean on the side of a more populist approach, in my view. Ozzy agrees. I'm not. I'm not at all intelligent enough to articulate what that would entail. I suppose a more communitarian vision. I suppose.
I don't know. Listen, the original start of this stream is I am not going to be proud of 11 millionaires, some of whom are English, who kneel in submission to a Marxist, black supremacist movement like Black Lives Matter before every single game they play. That was the original reason for this stream, and I haven't changed my view in the tiniest degree. And I do not understand patriotic England supporters who think that is somehow or another an England they can support. I just don't get it. And as I said earlier, our fathers, our grandfathers, and certainly our great-grandfathers will be spinning in their graves to see such things. I know mine would. Like I would sooner die. I would sooner die than kneel to anyone except God and Her Majesty the Queen. And I'm not joking. I wouldn't care if I was an England football player or anyone else. If you try and get me to kneel to anything except God or Her Majesty the Queen, I will fucking die before I do it. But then I'm an Englishman, and the son of an Englishman, and the grandson of an Englishman, and 100 generations of Englishmen. And that's what I don't understand those English football fans not getting. I don't understand that.
Well, you don't understand that over a period of sustained demoralization, for lack of a better word, that people have been broken down.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I haven't been broken down.
I mean, you're an exceptional individual.
So is my son.
And that's why that's why you do streams. But for the average person that's just trying to get along in the world and enjoy life with their friends and family, they
need to get more pride, Sojo. They need to get more pride. Imagine being born in any other nation except Britain. What a shame that would be. That's the way I've always looked at it. I mean, I wouldn't be born in any other nation except Britain. Best nation to be born in the whole world. Best nation in the world. And if you don't believe that, then why live in Britain? Or why live in or why live in the Commonwealth? What's so funny? I'm sorry, I don't get it.
You don't live in
get it.
England. Jig, small point. You don't live there.
Oh, you're right. Hang on. You're right there, Rollo. You're right. When I left the British Army, I moved to South Africa, and I lived there for 15 years. Much of that time in the SADF, and then I met an Australian guy, and I moved to Australia. So I guess I'm the last of the Empire loyalists. So.
Indeed.
But my son is still serving in the Royal Navy, the British Royal Navy.
Well, I mean, what do you make about that? I mean, is your son? I mean, by your own logic, and this is going to be harsh, but I'm not saying this is the case, but by your own logic, could you not say that your son is cucked, serving in a gay imperial army?
I'm not even going to answer that. So I'm not going to answer that because I'll be rude if I did. So I won't.
Right, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's my opinion. I'm just taking your logic about.
Yeah, I don't have a logic about that. I don't understand what you're doing there with that logic.
Well, because I think it's important because you're just castigating the whole institution of England, the England football team.
Yeah.
Because the players.
That's not the whole institution of England, thank God. Although, actually,
True.
You know what? The whole institution of England pretty much is cucked. You know that.
Well, yeah, to our own standards, admittedly, yes. But what I'm saying is that just because the British Army or the British military has fought wars that basically, in hindsight, have been completely pointless, Iraq, Afghanistan, doesn't mean that we turn around and say, you know what, fuck this institution. It's gay, it's cucked, and anybody that serves in it, anybody that supports it is a cuck. We don't say that about the army, so I don't see why we should...
But I do say that when I see British Army adverts. No, when I see British Army adverts, I put one up on the Discord today that say you train and you fail and then you get better and you can be the best you can be, which is like, as crappy as you are, you'll get as good as you can be. I do slag that shit off all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you slag it off, and that's it's fine. It's fine to criticise the army in the way that you do, because you're passionate about it. But I'm saying,
I love the British Army. The British Army used to be my religion.
Yes, but this is what you don't understand. In the same way that the British Army is your religion, can be transplanted and transposed onto people who think that the England team is their religion, is their army. That's the way that you have to view it. And so you wouldn't criticize the friends and families of servicemen and say, well, why are you supporting your son in the army when the army's a fundamentally cucked organisation? We would never say that about the army or people serving in it. So why should we say that about people who support the England team? What is the difference? What is the fundamental difference?
Okay, you think you've got a killer here, don't you? So, okay.
I fundamentally agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know you do. All right, the first thing is, I do slag off the British Army and the British Armed Forces when they come out with crap, which they very frequently do, including today, as I just said. But on the other hand, there is a big difference between criticising people in the British Army who get killed and lose limbs and get wounded, and England football supporters who just don't boo. I think it's a bit of a different story, don't you?
No, I'm making the analogy that the player is the soldier, the player is as to the soldier as the family is to the fan.
If the player is the soldier, then England football players rolling over after someone came within about 5 inches of their ankle is a bit of a fucking joke, mate. I'm sorry, and they were doing that. I think that perhaps if Carlyle was alive today and he was going to rewrite on Heroes and Hero Worship, that I think the modern day footballer could well be in there, because that is the regard that they're held in. Now, you may not agree with that. To say I don't would be a vast understatement.
But the thing is, I actually just don't think you have a hard time empathizing with normal people. I think that's your problem, that you're holding normal people to standards that are so impossibly high. On a sort of Christian level, they're impossible for most people to adhere to.
Yeah, I mean,
You're really just holding people to these standards that are just insane.
So you're probably right. The idea that every single English football fan could boo the England team when they kneeled is really holding average people to an impossibly high standard. You're probably right about that. That's what you just said. Is it not?
Well, it's not just the booing. It's the, I mean, why stop at booing? Why not? Why are you not saying, well, why are they even turning up to the game at all? What is your sort of boundary?
Oh yeah, actually, look, my actual idea would be no, don't even turn up to the game while they kneel. If they stop kneeling, then sure, go back.
But do you have the power to do that?
No, hang on. My actual deal would be, while they kneel, you really shouldn't turn up to the game. But because I'm not as bad as Sojo says, and I do understand that these guys, they want to watch their bread and circuses. Yeah, okay, if you're going to go and watch your bread and circuses, fair enough. But at least boo the shit out of the England team when they kneel. That's my point.
I'd say I think that would be fair enough if you had the influence to make a difference with it. If say we were getting 43,000 views instead of 43, then perhaps I think that would be legitimate in that case. But
given we haven't, we don't. Perhaps we shouldn't say a word.
Is
that your point?
Well, to an extent, like if you want, like if you don't think you're going to have any impact on politics, then really, I think Sojo said this before, like what you're basically doing here is giving people essentially like advice for, like, you could say a modern society that isn't really on their side, right? That's essentially what we're doing here, to an extent. It's not the large.
A modern society that really mostly hates them would be more appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah. All right. If absolutely true. But if that's essentially what we're doing here, right? Do you really want to advise, the 43 or however many will watch afterwards to basically? No. That's not what I'm saying. You're basically saying, engage negatively with something. Well, booing's a bit different. I think I would personally boo if I was at the match, but like, if you're saying, I'm not sure.
Well done, Royal Oak. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay. I'm not sure where I was going with. I suppose if you want people to have, a positive life, surely you want to let them be able to enjoy these kind of things, And it is a largely white crowd, being sort of nationalistic, flying the kind of old flags and banners and things like that. It's the kind of thing. It is to an extent petty jingoism, but petty jingoism is, to be fair, what makes the world go round, in my view. So,
don't agree with that at all, but okay.
Well, there's value in it, in its sort of rationation.
I didn't say there was no value in it. I just don't agree with what you just said. That petty jingoism makes the world go round. I don't think that's true at all. Wish it was, but it's not true.
But it's not what makes the world go round. But like, I think it's I don't know. I've run out of words to say, but it's a thing that helps politically, whether right, whatever.
How does it help? In what
jingoism?
Way? No. Anything you were talking about there, how does it help the right in any way whatsoever?
Well, if people feel more
like people having fun at football matches, how does that help the right?
Well, because to an extent, it's bringing people together. And if you're a right-wing collectivist, you want people to be collectivized, right? And it's giving
a positive. Have you been to many football matches, Rollo?
Yes, I used to have a season ticket down here locally.
Did you meet many right-wing people at soccer matches?
Actually, yes, but like you don't go there to meet right-wing people. It's not like a fucking meetup, is it? But I mean,
okay.
But at a national football team match, people feel more. Even like right-wing people would say, it's good for the country that there's this thing for us to, celebrate towards, or it's good for the country that there's this. Or
I have to, Rollo. Do you know what, mate? I like you. I think you're a nice young bloke. But I don't understand what you're saying there at all, to be honest. I just don't.
Well, I think even a lefty like Russell Brand picked up on it. It's a kind of collectivization that happens during a football match, like towards the nation. If you understand what I mean. Does it make sense to anyone else, or am I talking total shit?
No,
Can you repeat
I
that?
completely understand.
Thank you.
I used
you're-
to
you're-
appreciated.
I used to
You're
understand
alluding
it.
to the primal
I used
instincts
to.
that I was referring to earlier. That,
Yeah,
Duke,
I used
that seem
to
to be lost
understand
on
it.
Duke.
No, I used to understand it. In years gone by, I used to understand it. One of the happiest days of my life was when the England rugby union team won the Rugby World Cup. They're still the only Northern Hemisphere team ever to have won it. And I was in Early Beach, which is this beautiful coastal resort in Australia, like subtropical place. And I was just so fucking happy. It was unbelievable. I was jumping up and down. It was fun. It was great. I was a huge rugby union fan. I used to play it when I was young.
But the thing is, would you want to
And-
rub
and-
that
and
emotion
then-
on other people?
No, and then we were walking on the road afterwards, and I was the first mate on this 70-foot sailing boat. And our diving instructor was this little tiny guy called Joshy. And he was a little bloke. He was about 5'7", you know, much younger than me, walking along the road. And as we were walking along the road, there's these two English blokes, and they're burning an Australian flag, right? And they weren't rugby fans; they were soccer fans. They were football fans, obviously, because like rugby fans don't do shit like that. And Joshy got really upset, obviously, because he was an Aussie, and England beat Australia in the final. And like I'm pissed out of my brain because like I've been watching this game for like 4 hours before the game and all the rest of it. And these cunts are trying to get like heavy with poor little Joshy is just still 5'7" bloke. And I turned around and said to these cunts, if you don't pull that out, I'll fucking beat the shit out of you, you know? But like that's the real way to be.
Huh?
That's the real way you are, you know. Like England football fans, and they weren't rugby fans; they were football fans, burning Australian flags because England managed to win the fucking Rugby World Cup. It's bollocks, but it's bollocks in the same way as the England football team kneeling to Black Lives Matter is bollocks. And
So,
like those English
what-
fans who cannot go between those two parameters and see what I'm talking about, those are lost to us anyway. They're basically going to be turned into leftists anyway because they're fucking morons.
But what there seems to me, there seems to be two issues here. One is the kneeling, and then there is the fact that 50% of the team is non-white. Are they both as important to you as one another, or one is?
I'd say the 50. I wouldn't care if the England team had 2 non-white people in it. But more than that, yeah, I do. It's not English anymore, really.
Yeah, but the thing is that for many people, and obviously a lot of people in these
Fuck
circles
them.
are not going to like what I'm about to say. But there's a large strain of people who accept the Civnat premise. That,
Well, I don't. So, Joe, as you
well,
well
yeah,
know.
well, I know you don't, and I begrudgingly accept it. I accept it as reality. It's like, well, most people accept this. This is
You don't
basically
really.
the way
You're
things.
just more.
No, I'm saying
you're
that.
just nicer than me in that regard.
I'm saying that in an ideal world, all nations in my ideal world would be homogenous, but that's not the way the world is, and so I have to live my existence in the real world. So it's like for the remainder of my life, it's going to be this way. But the other thing is,
might turn it around. We might turn it around, yeah.
But I think people there's people mock the idea of like the base black bloke, or I've got a black mate, therefore I like all black people. But for many normal people, that is their lived experience. I hate to use that word, but that's their experience in everyday life, that they have they got a black friend or a brown friend or whatever.
I had a black man in the British Army fucking 35 years ago.
Yeah, but so naturally the team will end up having.
Everyone
well,
called
you
him
know,
chalky, and he didn't mind. He
But,
really didn't.
yeah, all right, fair enough. Oh, you keep throwing me off my thought train. Bloody hell, Duke! I don't know where I was going with that now.
No, carry on. You were saying.
I would I would
were-
absolutely love to carry on, but I can't because I don't know where I was going with that now.
You were saying that English people are getting used to non-English people being described as English people. I think that's kind of what you were saying, anyway.
Yeah, in a nutshell, 100%. That is most definitely happening. That is absolutely happening.
Well, I think we need to stop that.
I don't see how you actually really can.
Well, partly by stopping the English football team kneeling to Black Lives Matter, but I mean, you know, that's.
Well, I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm not quite. I think that's a spurious claim. I think
it would help.
Not.
I think it would help. Put it that way.
I think it's better to say that the fact that people accept BLM and the England team taking the knee is a symptom of basically being immersed in a multicultural society with mass immigration.
And being cut.
No. I would say that being cucked is probably a side effect of living in a multicultural society, because how else do you keep a society from fraying other than to cuck everybody?
I don't know, man. I just think it's the worst thing you can be. I can't think of anything that is more. What's the most insulting word I can think of? I can't think of anything that makes you lower than cucking to things like Black Lives Matter. Really, I just can't. Like, I'd sooner be dead than kneel to anything. Apart from Her Majesty the Queen and God, of course, which is perfectly respectable. But apart from that, you don't kneel to anyone. And like I said, I would literally die rather than kneel to anything. If I was somehow or other an amazingly skilled gay English football player, and I do think most of them are fairly gay, because they roll over when someone comes within about 6 inches of their ankles. But if I was an amazingly skilled multi-millionaire English football player, and they said, you got to kneel, I'd say, kill me first. I really would. And I've heard people say before, and we've had this discussion, but I've heard people say, but then you'll lose your career. And if I'm a multi-millionaire, I don't fucking care. Honestly, mate, I really don't. Why?
Yeah, but I think what you forget is a lot of these footballers are actually sort of basically, they can't function as human beings. Many of them end up with gambling problems, drinking problems. A lot of them go bankrupt. David James went bankrupt.
Yeah, I know. They're almost as bad as soldiers, Sojo.
Just squaddies with a bit more money.
the problems that soldiers get into, for fuck's sake, mate. You don't even look. So the difference is they're multi-millionaires, which kind of gives them a bit of an advantage, honestly, I'm not joking. I would die before I would kneel to anyone except God or Her Majesty the Queen, which are accepted things.
I'm glad we've got that out of the way.
Well, and I don't understand how the vast majority of the English football supporters, who know that very well, they know the only two things Englishmen should kneel to are God or the Queen. Don't get it.
No, maybe you just don't get it. Maybe they're like, well, thank fuck I'm not kneeling. Let those idiot players do it. I mean, football fans have a kind of hate-love relationship with the player in the sense that they adore them but loathe them. They're the hero that makes the team stay up and not get relegated, blah blah blah. But at the same time, they're the pussy that dives. There's that love-hate relationship.
All of that, I think you might have a point if you're talking about league teams, but I'm talking about the England team. Totally different.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't really know anybody who's I would consider to be a hardcore football fan.
Well, I
So
know,
don't know.
my brother's a hardcore football fan. Like I said, he was in Millwall for
Well,
fuck's sake. Travelled all
yeah, but
over
that
the country.
Millwall. I mean, you got a sample set of one for the most the archetype hardcore football team going, Millwall. I mean, they make.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't Football Factory basically sort of modelled on that team?
Yep. Millwall were the biggest guys.
No one likes us, we don't care. I mean, what an absolute belter of a motto. I completely agree with it, endorse that.
No, my brother was never a cuck, I've got to say. And like his chances of kneeling to Black Lives Matter or supporting an England team that kneeled to Black Lives Matter would be something like minus 199%.
Everyone pausing to work out the maths on that.
But like I said, it's minus 199%. So it's kind of like, minus 200%. Like, would never have happened. About the same point, about the same chances as my dad doing it, or my granddad, or my great-granddad. Like, no, they all had self-respect. Like any white English player who kneels to Black Lives Matter has no self-respect whatsoever. And that's not an opinion, that's just a fact. They are literally kneeling to a Marxist black supremacist movement.
Have you got any other talking points you want to go over?
Who are you asking, me?
Well, you're the host, so yes.
Do I have any? Well, I was hoping for all these big arguments from you guys, and I haven't seen one yet. All I've seen is the same cucky shit, basically.
Well, whenever I've put it forward, whenever I've put anything forward, you've said, "Yeah, well, I don't want to play that game anyway," and then I'm kind of at an impasse because, like, anything I put forward, you just don't seem to be interested in.
All right, carry on. You give me another point if you want to.
No, because I'd just be repeating myself, and like.
Well, look, the point I'm making is, look, unless you've got
we know the
else,
point you've been making.
you've
said it 20 times now.
Yes, so unless you've got another point, the ones I've disagreed with, I'm going to carry on disagreeing with. If you've got another one, I'll listen to that.
Well, like, no, I'm not going to repeat myself because I think we've been there enough. But I think you're I really wish you could be a bit more optimistic about our chances than you are, and that's all I really say about it.
Jesus, I'm an absolute optimist compared with Sojo, mate. I always have been.
Well, okay, compared with Sojo, great, but like, I like to pretend that there is light at the end of the tunnel for us, and I see this as a classic little microcosm of this is a nice little microcosm, this thing of ideology and principles versus pragmatism and the real world. And as far as I'm concerned, one of those will help us win and save, and the other one won't. And that's just where I'm at.
I don't know. I take your point, Ozzy. I think it was a good point. But I think if we're going to win, we need somewhere between the two of those.
Sure.
I just think, like, if you just go the way we're going at the moment, it's just going to be an avalanche, and we're going to totally lose.
Well, the way we're going at the moment,
there's so little pushback, is what I'm.
But the way we're going at the moment is little spurgy corners online in which we go, well, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of this. I say, well, I read this paper, and we're doomed. Lol. That's me. But like, so I'm definitely guilty of this, sure. But like, I'm starting to get really loathsome of this sort of ideological, sort of like spurgery to be honest, and this sort of principle stuff, because we don't live in a principled world.
No.
People abandoned principles a long, long time ago. Principles arguably died with the First World War because no one really sees God as the center of their lives anymore. And that's a tragedy, and we can mourn that. But at this point, if we're going to salvage anything, if we even, dare I say it, want to bring Britain back to a Christian, God-fearing country, we've got to work with what we've got. You can't just keep complaining.
Well, the reason why a lot of people might not, sort of feel sympathy with you, Ozzy, is that we're quite a long way away. I mean, we're speaking to 45 people here, buddy. I mean,
hang on, guys. Let me just point out to you, we're not really, because most of our streams get to about 500 views, so it's not 45 people. But
some of those are coming back though as well. Remember, so some of those are coming back.
Sure. But what I'm trying to say to you is that I don't know. Look, we're in a very difficult position. Our backs are against the wall. We are between a rock and a hard place, and we can't just keep accepting the status quo. We've got to do something against that, guys. That's my only problem with what Ozzy was saying. Although I don't think it was what he was saying, but that's how it came across. I think we've got to do something to break the status quo.
Agree. I'd say that's giving your own vision as to what Britain should be and what Britain is, rather than just criticizing BLM the whole time. I mean, it's a bit. I mean, there
is nothing good about Black Lives Matter. Let's be frank.
That wasn't what I said.
Even if it had anything to do with Britain, which it doesn't, it was just imported from America. So I mean that's the first thing about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter has fuck all to do with Britain. It was just imported into Britain from America after that drug idiot who held a pistol to a pregnant woman's belly died in that idiot thing that happened over there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a supporter of Black Lives Matter, Jake. So I mean, preaching to the choir a bit here, but
yeah, no. So let's not even talk about that shit. All right. This is why I keep trying to say, why is it the English football team are kneeling to these cunts? There is no good reason for it. Not one of you guys, all three of you are very intelligent men. All right? You're probably more intelligent than me. And not one of you has come up with a good reason why the English team is kneeling to those guys, except Globo Homo.
We never. I never. Yeah, I'm sure Soju. What Soju's going to say is exactly what I'm going to say. We never gave or justified or had. Like I've said throughout this entire time, I'm not even thinking about the team. So I don't know why you're bringing them up yet again. But just to emphasize, I do not care about the team one lick spittle, and I think they're all cowards for kneeling.
Absolutely agree. That's my view entirely.
But I have my hope for this country depends on those people in the stadium. We need them.
We need some of them. We need some of them anyway. Yeah.
The more the merrier, mate. The more the merrier.
Yeah, but we ain't gonna get most of them.
This is sure. Okay, fine, but this is democracy and it's a numbers game. And as far as I'm concerned, well, it is. I mean, it's the basic arithmetic of it all.
Yeah, but democracy is largely an illusion, as you very well know,
Ozzy. No. What do you mean? What do you mean it's an illusion?
Because you don't really get what people vote for ever. Like if you did, mass immigration in the UK would have stopped many years ago.
You sure that's the problem when you don't have a populist base? That's the problem when the two parties have no threat from external populist roots.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Fair enough.
When you do get populist threats, you either get an Orban in Hungary, who's an establishment conservative who gives the people what they want, and he's stayed in power for so long,
good bloke because he's popular.
You get a surgent party like the AFD, which is actively blocking the CDU from getting into power. Or, in the best of cases, you get Marine Le Pen, who might be president of France. But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. I just think the British political and voting system is going to make that very difficult.
I mean, the arithmetic is harder, but I don't think it's out of the question. Because what you need, all that basically changes is that you change from a general campaign to a specific campaign. You pick very, very individual little constituencies. You only need about 50.
I see what
only.
you're saying,
Well, okay, sure. It's a long shot now, but we've got 4 election cycles. Let's see what we can do with that.
Yeah, but this Aussie, I've been saying for I don't know, since the first time I ever streamed with anyone before I even started this channel, that the only chance the real right, the real British nationalist populist right has is all of those little parties that we have, and there are fucking at least about 10, for God's sake. They all have to at least come up with an agreement not to run against each other in an election. Unless that happens, then nothing's going to happen. They don't have to be deeply aligned, but they do have to say to each other, look, where you're strongest, we won't run. But our supporters in that area will support you.
I mean, I'm less fussed about the particulars of the solution, because this stream was less about that. It was more about the fact that you've got to get, for me at least, the thesis for me was we've got to get past our principles at this point because no one else is playing the principles game.
No, I don't agree with that. I think if we totally lose our principles, then we aren't anything. We have to
then we lose.
No, I think we've got to keep some principles, mate.
Okay, fine, but we'll lose.
No,
and that's absolutely.
And if you lose your principles, how the fuck do you win? If you win with no principles, you haven't really won, have you?
I think that's a pretty liberal dogmatism. I think that might make.
That sounds like Trudeau. If you kill your enemies, they win. Is that the line that you're taking?
No. That is not what I said, Sojo. It's actually the opposite of what I said.
I think that's very much a liberal ontology, and I'm not trying to call you a liberal, but this idea that you have principles that you stick to them, the ancient rationale of politics is might makes right.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if one of my principles, which it is that pedophilia is evil, should I ditch that?
No.
If one of my principles is people under 18 shouldn't be able to become transgender, should I ditch that?
No.
But the important thing is that if you have a political situation in which you need to get into power and you need to make sacrifices along the way, like saying, I support the English football team when they kneel, so people can say, well, this guy's behind England. That's great, isn't it? As far as I'm concerned, at this point, you should probably do that because it's called gritting your teeth and getting on with it. You might not like it, but but at this point, right wingers have the ultimate esteem put on power, or at least we should do, because power leads to order, and right wingers generally like order. So if our ultimate aim is power, then we should be working really hard to get that. So, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, you've got to. There's a game to play, and the goal is only forwards.
I don't know, guys. I'm not sure that I agree with like 90% of what you said there, Ozzy. But I just think that supporting an English football team that takes the knee to submit to Black Lives Matter doesn't have a place in the rest of what you said, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, this is just kind of the impasse we're at, because like,
yeah, like I said, I agree with 90% of what you said. 90% of it, I think, was very good sense. But I don't see where supporting a Globo Homo soccer team run by a very woke manager, or do they call them coaches these days? I can't remember. And taking the knee to a Marxist black supremacist movement, I don't see where that comes into it. The other stuff you said, I think, was very sensible.
I mean, so okay, you're a man of history, so
sure, yeah.
Let's take the most classic example of realpolitik and might makes right that European civilizations ever observed: Otto von Bismarck. He was very principled. He was very old style, aristocratic. Oh, I don't like this coming Germany, but guess what? He adapted with it when he saw the time was right. He made it, and he made it in his vision. And then better than that, he made it in his construction so that it was primarily for the Junkers, whether we agree with that or not. And then further than that, when there was a threat of the left with the democratic socialists and all that, he gave them a little bit of crumb. He said, yes, I support the team that kneels for Black Lives Matter, but he fucking got Germany to the top place in Europe.
No, but he didn't do what you were saying there. He was always in the driving seat. The Junkers were always in the driving seat. And what he did was he gave the socialists a little bit of crumb, not by anything to do with Black Lives Matter, obviously, but by giving them things like workers' compensation and so on.
Yeah, but that's giving them concessions. That's giving them crumb.
From a position of strength. There is a difference in giving the left concessions from a position of strength.
He was going to get completely ousted by a socialist revolution.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that. But the principle remains.
I tell you what. Right, I will ask Apostolic Majesty about this, who's a huge expert on this kind of era and part of Europe.
Duke, can I interrupt?
But even from what I've read, I don't think Bismarck and the Junkers were in grave chances of being like thrown over the side. I think Bismarck did that just to save problems, basically.
Duke, I have to go to bed. Sorry to interrupt.
Good night, mate. Good night.
I've really got to go, but it's been lovely chatting, and I will speak to you
always.
Another time.
Yeah, I'm always happy to hear from you, mate. Good night.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
See you, bro.
But yeah, I'm just not sure that like Bismarck's Prussian socialism, Prussian state socialism, I think it was called. I just think that was to avoid problems. I don't think that they were actually going to be like run over by the socialists.
Okay, but nonetheless, the principle of I see there's a problem. It's not an overwhelming problem. It won't destroy. It won't it won't completely incapacitate us. So I'm gonna do a little bit of crumb. I'm gonna give what I have to give, and then carry on and continue towards the New Jerusalem, or at least what he thought was the New Jerusalem. I mean, we will have our own independent thoughts about the German Leviathan, but the principle that he articulates is pragmatism first, and that is something that I think we are all desperately missing.
Maybe.
Anyway,
maybe.
I think. I
don't think we're getting any further in this conversation.
Yeah, I don't think we will. I think there's only so many times you can say the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. The same. And listen, I don't hate any of you guys. Don't dislike any of you guys. I don't think you're right, but I would just urge every single England fan to boo England every time they kneel. And on that,
I think Limbu's put some stuff in the chat. Seeing as he's a regular guest, maybe you should address it before you finish.
what is that? There you go. There's Limbo.
Do you not think that Eurofund would be good for? I mean, we've kind of already discussed that, haven't we? Really?
Oh,
yeah, we
goodness,
kind of
we've
have
gone over this
yeah.
ab nauseum, bro.
Yeah, we pretty much got on it. Listen, I like Limbo. Limbo is one of our regulars, and I'm sure he'll be on a stream very, very soon. He only wasn't on the last stream because he was busy. But I would just say, look, guys, if you're an England fan, boo England every single time single time they kneel. And on that note, I'm going to play us out on a tune.
All right, cheerio.
Hey, good night, folks. We'll see you on Saturday if you're in UK.